Hey everyone, Dave Durante here with Parallax Fitness with another movement video for you. Today we're going to be building on our first planche video and giving you some additional videos that are a little bit more intermediate, not so much the super advanced ones, but a way for you to progress from those initial videos that we had on the planche. First exercise here is going to be utilizing the rower, and the only way that I found a rower to be useful, not actually for rowing, but for planche work. Hands are going to be down on the ground, feet are going to be on the seat of the rower, and we're going to be using that movement of the rowing seat back and forth to allow us to get into a planching action. So it's similar to a planche lean that we showed in video number 1, except now we have some fluid movement coming from the seat on the rower. A couple things positionally that we want to consider here. One, the positioning of the hands. I really want to try to avoid any positioning of the fingertips facing forward. It's not going to really allow us to move towards a higher level of variation with our planche because it's going to put so much stress onto that wrist joint. And more realistically, in terms of our higher level variations, will require fingers out to the sides because it will mimic holding on to parallettes, parallel bars, or potentially even rings. So turn those fingers out, thumbs pointing up towards 12 o'clock when your hands are positioned, and ideally trying to exaggerate our hollow position through our torso as much as possible, really pulling those scapula away from each other before we even initiate any planche leaning forward through the shoulders. From there, we'll get into that nice hollow body. Lean the shoulders only as far forward as you can, where you can maintain that same body alignment, holding for 3 to 5 seconds. I really don't want you to go over to any 10-second holds here. It's not really going to be too valuable if you're going over 10-second holds. Keep the holds short, focus more on technique, and focus on trying to get some more reps under your belt back and forth. Always pulling back to a nice starting point where the shoulders directly up over the hands. Exercise number 2 in this sequence is going to be starting in the shortest lever possible. Now, every variation that we've shown up to this point has been showing a straight body or a full planche, which would be the most challenging variation that you're ever going to be working on. But the realistic progression here is going to be starting at the shortest lever possible so you can understand some of the mechanics around not only the strength components of the shoulder, of the bicep, of the front part of the pec, that's really all involved, but also the mechanics of the lean and the weight distribution that we've talked about in the past. So this one is going to be starting in a tuck. Knees deep into the chest. We're going to be starting out on parallettes. Now what I want you to be thinking about with the parallettes is just some quick setups here. If you are new to using parallettes or parallel bars, understand that the width matters. All right, so a good rule of thumb whenever you're using these, try to set them up in a position where the elbow is in line with the fingertips in terms of the space between the parallettes. If you're a little too narrow, it's going to be hard to utilize them correctly. If you go out super wide, we're not going to be in the most advantageous position possible. So try to align it so that the elbow and fingertip are measured through the interior of the parallettes. From there, elbows are going to be nice and locked out. Like I said, knees deep into the chest. We're going to be thinking about starting in a tuck support hold and then just lifting the hips up as high as we can so that we can hit a nice flat back position and then return to our start. Repeating this action back and forth. Now, a couple things that we want to be critical on here. One, making sure that we don't lift and lower before we stop. It means you're swinging or using too much momentum getting into that final position. Take it slow and pause and freeze right at that peak position, hopefully with the back being flat. Most likely the first time you do this, you're going to find a difficult time finding where flat is, which is okay, but over time you'll be more accustomed to exactly understanding where your body is level. Number 2, making sure that you don't rise too high. This is another common error that we see. People thinking that flat with that tuck position is with the hips really high. You saw this in this last variation. Let's make sure that we take it a little bit lower. Film yourself, watch yourself from the side so you can really see where your body is in relation to where you think it is. And lastly, and this is a critical one with all of our planche drills, making sure that our elbows are fully locked out. If you're doing these particular drills, especially this one, and bending the elbows as the hips come up, you are working completely different muscle groups, you are working a completely different skill, and I guarantee you, if your goal is a straight arm planche and straight arm work, you're going to have to start over again at some point. So if you are doing these drills with bent elbows, it's only going to create bad habits that you're eventually going to have to go back and work on fixing. So from the start, if you're starting from a blank slate, let's make sure we work from straight elbows and build from there. The last drill in this particular sequence is utilizing the band to assist getting through a nice planche position. So I love wrapping the band around a high bar, wrapping it around my waist, getting my hands situated down on the ground, and then slowly letting the band be a spotter. This is a great way, if you don't have a spotter, to be able to hold around your hips to help you get into a good position. The band can be an incredible tool when working on these planches to understand where we are in relation to where we need to be. Also understanding what we keep talking about in terms of weight distribution. I'm using a little bit of a heavier band, kind of a medium band here to show you the progressions, but what we want to be thinking about doing here is not just the length of the hold, but also the tension of the band. Working slowly towards something that's a little bit less tense so that you're working more towards being able to do it on your own. Start with something that really supports you well so you can focus on good position, and then work towards something that's a little bit easier from there. Thanks everyone for watching this particular video with Power Monkey Fitness on the planche. We got more great content coming for you soon. Please like, subscribe, keep following us along at PowerMonkeyFitness.com, and let us know your questions so we can answer them.